been better. Or worse.
It's most awfully difficult to explain.
Facts first, explanations afterwards.
It's the facts that are so difficult to explain. They're so fantastic.
Facts very often are. Take creative talent, for instance. How do you account for that? Like a Shakespeare or Michelangelo. Trying to explain Mozart, snatching sounds out of the air and putting them down on paper when he was practically a baby. Facts, plain facts. I know it's the fashion nowadays to ascribe it all to glands, but my reply to that is fiddle-dee-dee.
Yes, I'm sure you're quite right.
There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy, Mrs. Conrad.
There certainly are.
Come now, take the plunge. Out with it. You've heard strange noises in the night, no doubt. Boards creaking, doors slamming, subdued moaning in the passages. Is that it?
No, I'm afraid it isn't.
No sudden gust of cold wind, I hope.
No, it's worse than that.
I'm all attention.
I know it sounds idiotic, but the other night, during the seance, something happened.
I knew it. Probably a poltergeist. They're enormously cunning, you know. Sometimes they lie doggo for days.
You know that my husband was married before.
Yes, I've heard it mentioned.
His first wife, Elvira, died comparatively young.
Where?
Here, in this house, in this very room.
Ooh, I'm beginning to see daylight.
She was convalescing after pneumonia, and one night she began to laugh helplessly at one of the BBC musical programs and died of a heart attack.
And she materialized the other evening, after I had gone?
Not to me, but to my husband.
Capital! Capital! Oh, but that's splendid!
From your own professional point of view, I can see how that could be regarded as a major achievement.
A triumph! Nothing more or less than a triumph!
But from my own personal point of view, it is, to say the least of it, embarrassing.
Alas! Alas! A genuine materialization!
Please sit down again, Madame Arcadi.
Oh, how can anyone sit down at a moment like this? It's tremendous! I haven't had a success like this since the Sudbury case.
Nevertheless, I must insist upon your sitting down and controlling your natural exuberance. I appreciate fully your pride in your achievements, but I would like to point out that it has made my position in this house untenable, and that I hold you entirely responsible.
Forgive me, Mrs. Condamine. I'm being abominably selfish. How can I help you?
How? By sending her back to where she came from, of course.
I'm afraid that is easier said than done.
Do you mean to tell me that she is liable to stay here indefinitely?
Perhaps. I fear that it mostly depends on her.
But, my dear Madame Arcadi,
Where is she now?
my husband has driven her into Folkestone. Apparently she was anxious to see a friend of hers who's staying at the Grand.
Forgive this formality, but I shall have to make a report to the Psychical Research Society.
I would be very much obliged if there were no names mentioned.
The report will be confidential.
This is a small village, you know, and gossip would be most undesirable.
I understand. You say that she is visible only to your husband?
Yes,
Visible only to husband. Audible too, I presume?
extremely audible.
Extremely audible. Your husband was devoted to her?
I believe so.
Husband devoted.
It was apparently a reasonably happy marriage.
Oh, tut-tut.
I beg your pardon?
Where is she now? Or when did she pass over?
7 years ago.
Ah, that must mean she was on the waiting list.
Waiting list?
Yes, otherwise she would have gotten beyond the materialization stage by now. She must have marked herself down for a return visit, and she'd never have been able to manage it unless there was a strong influence at work.
Do you mean that Charles, my husband, wanted her back all that much?
Possibly, or it might have been her own determination.
That sounds much more likely.
Would you say that she was a woman of strong character?
I don't know, Madame Arcadi. I never met her, nor am I particularly interested in how and why she came to be here. I'm solely concerned with the question on how to get her away again as soon as possible.
The time has come for me to admit to you, frankly, Mrs. Condamine, that I haven't the faintest idea how to set about it.
But I always understood there was some sort of ritual, some exorcism that you do.
You mean the old bell and book method?
I suppose I do.
Poppycock, Mrs. Condamine. It was quite effective back in the old days of genuine religious belief, but that's all I believe that the decline of faith in the spirit realm has been causing grave concern.
Has it indeed?
There was a time, of course, when a drop of holy water could send even a poltergeist scampering for cover. But not anymore.
Be that as it may, Madame Arcadi, I must insist upon you doing your utmost to dematerialize her as soon as possible.
It really just is not possible.
Do you mean to sit there and tell me that having mischievously conjured up this ghost or spirit or whatever she is, you were unable to do anything about it at all?
Honesty is the best pulse.
But it's outrageous! I have to hand you over to the police.
You go too far, Mrs. Condamine.
I go too far indeed. Do you realize what your insane amateur muddling has done?
I have been a professional since I was a child. Amateur is a word I will not tolerate.
It seems to me to be the height of amateurishness, to conjure malignant spirits and not be able to get rid of them again.
I was in a trance. Anything might happen when I am in a trance.
Well, all I can suggest is that you go into another one immediately and get this damned woman out of my house.
I can't go into a trance at a moment's notice. It takes hours of preparation. Not to mention, I have to be extremely cautious of my diet days beforehand. Today, for instance, I had my lunch with friends and had pigeon pie, which, on top of these cucumber sandwiches, would make a trance out of the question.
Well, you'll have to do something.
I will make a report to the Psychical Research Society at the earliest possible moment.
Will they be able to do anything?
I doubt it. They'd probably send an investigation committee and do a lot of wall tapping and questioning and mumbo-jumbo. And then they'd have a conference, and then you'd probably have to go to London to testify.
It's too humiliating. It really is.
Try not to upset yourself. Nothing can be achieved by upsetting yourself.
Easy for you to say, Madame Arcadi. You don't seem to have the slightest realization of my position.
Try to look on the bright side.
Bright side indeed. Do you suppose, if your husband's first wife suddenly appeared from the grave and came to live in the house with you, that you'd be able to look on the bright side?
I resent your tone, Mrs. Condamine. I really do.
You most decidedly have no right to. You are to blame for the whole horrible situation.
Kindly remember that I came here the other evening on your own invitation.
On my husband's invitation.
I did what I was asked to do, which was to have a seance and to establish contact with the other side. I had no idea there were any other ulterior motives mixed up with it.
Ulterior motives?
Your husband was obviously eager to get in touch with his former wife. If I had known that at the time, I should naturally have consulted you beforehand. After all, noblesse oblige.
Charles had no intention of trying to get in touch with anybody. The whole thing was planned for him to get material for mystery stories writing about a homicidal medium.
Am I to assume that I was only invited here in a spirit of mockery?
Not at all. He really wanted to make some notes on the tricks of the trade.
Tricks of the trade? Insufferable! I've never been so insulted in my life. I feel we have nothing more to say to one another. Goodbye.
Madame Arcadi, please.
Your attitude from the outset has been most unpleasant. Some of your remarks have been discourteous in the extreme. And I should like to say, without umbrage, that if you and your husband